Elevation Nation, back like we never left with another episode of the pod. We have on an extremely special guest tonight. I first met this young man within 4 minutes. I knew that he was an elevator at his core, in his heart, and I could not wait to have him join Elevation Nation as elevator number 145 to share his inspirational journey about his life, what he's been through, what he's overcoming now, and how he's inspiring the next generation of leaders, student athletes, and elevators to conquer the real world. We have on the one and only Jack Smiley. Welcome to Elevation Nation, my brother. We're glad to have you.
I appreciate that. I'm honored to be here. Honored to be asked to be part of it because what you guys got going on is so cool. So just honored to be here.
Man, I am pumped. This is going to be an elevated conversation. I know that for sure. And, I'm wearing, I don't pull out the mental fortitude sweatshirt often. Sam knows that. I only pull it out for special occasions. And tonight, it's a special occasion because I feel like we're going to be talking all about mental fortitude and all about how you can shift your mindset to get to where you want to be. Jack, I'm following your content. I'm watching all the amazing stuff you're doing. I know your journey. But for Elevation Nation, who might not know you, we always start every episode off with an elevator pitch. You got to give it. So, Jack, let's hear it. What's your elevator pitch?
Oh, well, but 30 seconds about me. Is that what we're going with here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so basically my journey gets a little bit different. I'll start at the very beginning, actually, to get to know me a little bit. I am a college student currently. Grew up around the Philadelphia area, a little bit outside of the city. When I was very young, started to get into hockey, and I'm still an athlete. Fortunate enough playing in college, found my way into a pretty good program. But growing up, that's really what I was about. I was a very active kid, played a bunch of different sports, not just hockey, that ended up being where my passions led and ultimately ended up diving into that fully. But just always active, always getting after it, doing something outside. And fast forward a little bit, going into college, skipping all the boring parts of my life. Going into college, I came in after playing junior hockey, so I came in a little older. I don't know how many pod listeners here know the junior hockey route, but I came into college at typical hockey age of 21 as a freshman. So we're old, a little bit old. Came in, had a great time in juniors, came into college. First year of college was COVID, so that was a rocky start. And then where my story gets a little bit interesting is that sophomore year, right after COVID, I ended up having a stroke on the ice during practice. And we can get into all the nitty-gritty of it, but yeah, that sent me for a little bit of a different journey than the typical college athlete, I think. I
would say a little bit, Jack.
Yeah, I haven't really seen too many of my classmates on the same journey, but yeah, I ended up being fully paralyzed on my right side after the stroke. I had no movement, couldn't talk very well. It sounded like something was just lodged in my throat. I was very garbled speech. It would sound like I was trying to talk through a mouthful of mouthwash or something like that. Couldn't walk to the bathroom on my own. Couldn't do a lot of things in that moment of time. And then fast forward 2.5 years, a lot of recovery and progress later. Here I am talking to you guys.
It's an incredible story. That was a great summary and a highlight, and we're going to dive into all the details around it, Jack, because I think, you said something that stuck with me when we first met, which was something along the lines of, Sam, I had this vision, I had this dream, and it was all around hockey and being the best player I could be and making memories in college and winning games. And my purpose and my dream shifted once, this happened to me. And while you still want to eventually return to the ice, and I won't ruin what I know you want to do. We'll save that for the end once you get on the ice, how you want to go out. But I know that your dream has shifted a little bit and evolved, where it's not just about winning games anymore. It's about inspiring people. So I'm really excited to get into that new, phase and goal of your life. But before we get into all of those incredible details and your new mission and purpose, I want to talk a little bit about those first couple of weeks after having the stroke on the ice. I know you mentioned to me all the support systems that you had helping you. Can you talk to us a little bit about those first couple of weeks and how you were kind of adjusting to your new normal and the accident that did happen?
Yeah, those first couple weeks were a battle for sure. I can't even say in the typical sense that most people might be thinking. I guess after the first week, probably what you're thinking is pretty accurate. But that first week was just complete shock. I didn't stop crying the whole time. I was in the ICU for 5 days. Ended up being pretty much almost a week there. And I had no idea what was going on. I don't think anyone would be ready for that at that age. When it happened, 22 years old. I was coming right off of a hockey practice where I was skating 1,000,000 miles an hour. Not that fast. That might have been a little over dramatic. I'm typically a slow guy out there, but just not prepared. Definitely not prepared. I envisioned, as you said, finishing out my hockey career here, trying to be the best player I could, doing all the athletic things I loved, and that really gave me, I've said it a million times before the stroke, that's what gave me confidence. That being that hockey player and being able to carry myself around knowing I had those capabilities and that I built that was where I generated all of my confidence. So those first couple weeks were that adjustment into, okay, this is a completely different path than I really envisioned for myself. And I got over that first week of just complete shock, and that's when it hit. That's when I was like, oh, I'm in this. This is going to be a battle. I can't still 5 days. Because in the first couple of days, you're sitting there and you're just thinking, hey, maybe it'll come right back. This can't be real. This isn't, no way this is happening. And after that 5 days, for me personally, when they started transferring me to the rehab facility, that's when it clicked, and it was like, I still have zero movement. I still can't talk. I'm still in a wheelchair 5 days later. I better buckle in.
Man, so they move you to the rehab facility, right? And to your point, it started to settle in. What did those first couple of days, weeks in the facility even look like? Like, what was every day like?
So I was very fortunate to have an extreme, as you mentioned before, Sam, extreme support system. Everyone from every corner of my family to my friends to the nurses to the therapists were incredible. I was extremely lucky in that regard to have all those factors going for me. And the day-to-day in the hospital was definitely a grind. It was a little bit of a 9 to 5. I started my days usually around 8 a.m. 8 a.m. would be the first wake-up therapy. And I was in 3 main therapies and then a couple rotating just in and out. I had speech therapy every day. I had physical therapy every day, which in a setting like that, physical therapy is not your whole body. Physical therapy is just your lower body. I had occupational therapy for my upper body. I had recreational therapy, all these different therapies throughout the day that were hour stints. They had me in the pool a little bit, which was cool. And I'm in that setting was as cool as it could be. But they had me going from sometimes 7 a.m., 8 a.m. till 4, 5, 6 at night, just therapy all day. And it was tough with the COVID rules for sure. They didn't have normal visitation hours. They kicked everyone out by 8 p.m., which is tough when you're getting done therapy at 5 and mom can only stay in the room till 8 and then has to go. But it was definitely a battle. It was a battle. There were some dark moments in there, but we got through it. We battled through it.
I want to talk about some of those dark moments, Jack. And, you mentioned all the different types of therapy, right? You had, speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy. And as an athlete, I can imagine you took this as, this is my practice now. This is the physical challenge I need to put my body through. And you were ready for that grind, I would say. Where I'd like to go a little bit with you, and you hinted at it, and I hope you're okay going this deep and introspective. This is what Parker and I love to do, is I want to talk a little bit about your mindset, right? And the mental battles you were going through. Parker's wearing something on his sweatshirt. For those watching on YouTube, you can read it, but I'm going to say it out loud for those that are just listening to the podcast, and it's a phrase that Parker and I love. It's called mental fortitude. And so to us, Jack, mental fortitude is the X factor that elevators have that the rest of the world doesn't have. And everyone can have mental fortitude. Everyone can exercise mental fortitude, but not everyone does. And so to us, mental fortitude is knowing who you are at your core, your vision of where you want to go, and knowing what fuels you. And I can only imagine that having an incident like this happen, that you really needed to rely on your mindset to get through, as you said, some of those darker times. So can we talk for a minute about how your mindset shifted and how you were able to push through some of those darker times? Because oftentimes that's more difficult than the physical challenges.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a great question because it's something that I've been trying with the platform that I have and spreading that message exactly is anyone can have it. It just takes work. Just like going to the gym. You want a decent body, you want to be in shape, you got to put in work. So I completely agree with that. And yeah, the mental aspect for me was, I want to say, relatively easier than what you would expect. I definitely had a lot of those just internal battles where going from a guy who could skate maybe not a million miles an hour, but decently well, enough to get around at a college NCAA level, but going from that to, okay, I need someone to push me in my wheelchair to the elevator and I can't even take the stairs anymore, or not to get graphic, but wipe my own butt. Like I could, all this stuff that you just don't even think about in a very subconscious manner, and you go around your day, just wasn't there for me anymore. And those battles for sure were difficult, but I always had those three things that you mentioned. I always knew who I was. I knew what I wanted to accomplish, and I just put my head down and worked for that. I had something, and it was like, you either go for it or you don't. And in that regard, that was the easy part of it. It was just, there was no option. There wasn't, I think in that sense, you can look at anything in life that way. If you want something, there is no option. You got to do what's required to get it. And for me, I want to say it's not even the stroke that built that in me. It was overall just, I think a ton of factors go into that. I think what you take from people, from your surroundings, the people you surround yourself with, the way you handle different tasks, the way I was an athlete, the goals that and the tasks that built in me and mindset that built in me helped me through all of it.
One of my favorite things about our framework for mental fortitude is you have the foundation, which is self-awareness, knowing who you are, right? Knowing who you are at your core can help you go along and determine what vision that you want in your life, what goals you want to hit, and then the fuel, the thing that inspires you. So I like to think that at the core you have self-awareness, right? And you build off of that over time. But the really cool thing about mental fortitude is that it grows with you. It changes with you. You go through different things in life that your mental fortitude has to change. Right, Jack? So to your point, you're in the emergency room right after the accident happens, and you have to exercise a crazy amount of mental fortitude to have a goal, a vision to go somewhere, right? To maybe probably get out of the hospital. Maybe you're thinking that far down the line, but there's a lot more goals and vision that you have for yourself in that moment. I don't want to speak for you, but the mental fortitude changes over time. I assume that your goals changed over time. So I'm curious, walk us through how some of those goals that you had changed as you started to exercise a shit ton of mental fortitude.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I say it all the time as well. It's one of my mottos, that adaptability. Life is about adaptability. You're going to be tossed into situations you had no idea were in front of you. No idea, no preparation, nothing. Life is that way, and you either suck it up or you don't. And I definitely had some goals before the stroke that did not work out and were not meant for me. And that was a tough pill to swallow. And then you end up swallowing it and getting it over with and moving forward and focusing on the next task. And I have a quick story about that, actually. I think it's one of the coolest stories I have, and one of the most proud moments I have.
Wait, Jack, before you get into the story, your light got a little dark.
Yeah, you want me to go?
I want to make sure we get the lighting good.
You're such a trooper, bro. Jack is like, shit, these automatic lights, man.
I know. I had them turned off on me, and I was like, dude, I got a little bit of light here. Should I just keep it going?
You still looked fine.
No,
I just felt
was
bad.
good.
You were probably uncomfortable.
I just wanted to make
a
sure we
better.
get we don't even need to cut this, man.
Oh,
This is good.
That's funny.
This is authentic.
Yeah, well, I would just grinding through it. Life's gonna toss some dim lights at you every once in a while that you weren't prepared for. Anyone. Yeah, but speaking of that, this moment happened on the transfer out of the ICU into the rehab facility. And as I said before, at this point, I still had no idea what was involved with a stroke. It was starting to click, but I had no idea. I had never really known what a stroke was. And the little bit I did know was that it did not happen to people my age that lived my kind of lifestyle. And so I'm getting transferred out of the hospital, and the neurologist that oversaw my treatment came down to see me out and just give a little discharge, talk to me a little bit. He was awesome. He was a great guy, just saying his goodbyes and doing the last little checks. And I remember, because I saw this guy every day. I was talking with him here and there about where I was and what was going on. And I remember looking at him on the way out and being like, you'll see me on the ice in 3 weeks. And he kind of gave me a little, kind of walking that line of not wanting to disappoint me, but also being like, set your expectations realistically. And he was just like, I believe you'll be on the ice again one day, but 3 weeks is pushing it. Like, you got a long road ahead of you, so I don't want you to disappoint yourself. And I was just like, no, you'll see me on the ice in 3 weeks. And 3 weeks to that day. Shout out to my physical therapist, OTs, rec therapists for making this happen because I was still in patient care. I had a room at the rehab hospital and everything. I was living there, and they got me on the ice. It wasn't in the capacity that I thought, because in those first moments in that time that I was talking to my neurologist, I was thinking, oh, I'll be a college hockey player again. I'll be skating with the boys at practice, getting ready for the games on the weekend. That was my goal in that moment. But they got me on the ice. It was with a walker and 2 of the therapists holding me up from the front and back. But I had a meeting, just a check-in with that same neurologist from the ICU later that day, and he didn't know that I meant that I'd be back on the ice for college hockey. So I was able to bring in the video and be like, "Hey, told you." But yeah, that goes exactly to both of your points about goals change. Like with that stuff that life throws at you and that adversity, you're gonna have moments where you gotta adapt. You gotta just set something different, whether it's pushing a goal back by a little bit. If you really want to achieve it, I think it's stupid to quit. I think it's just not really in the realm of what should ever happen if you really have a passion for something. But you also have to be, to a point, you got to realize where you're at and have that adaptability factor of saying, okay, this can't happen right now. I'll achieve this in the meantime, and then I'll go forward and achieve that at a later date.
Jack, where did this mental fortitude that you displayed, especially in that first month or two after the accident, where did that come from? Because I mean, it doesn't just happen out of nowhere, right? Like, where did it come from?
I think a lot of it came from how I was raised. I think a lot of it comes from my parents, especially my family. And I think a lot of it comes from sports. I don't think I would have been able to handle this if I hadn't had the life that I lived beforehand. I definitely didn't have it easy regarding sports. I don't want to sound like I had a rough road leading up to this at all or anything, but I had the injury bug for sure. I had double hip surgery about 6 or 7 years ago. I tore up my shoulder first game back from that hip surgery and was out another 3 months, and then just all these different little minor injuries throughout, and then COVID, and just I didn't really put together a full season for 5 years leading up to the stroke. It was just injury after injury. And I think looking back on it, you sit in those moments and you're just saying, why can't I catch a break right now? What is going on? But I think all that led up to this. It built that, okay, I've gotten through all of this. I'll get through the stroke too. And that, I think, accumulated, definitely. Specifically where it came from, I think there's a multitude of different answers that play a factor there.
I think sports has the ability to almost like fabricate some adversity sometimes. And I guess fabricate's not the right word because it's real. But for folks that maybe are growing up and, they just go to school or have clubs or whatever, maybe they don't necessarily get that same level of like mindset training that I think all three of us who grew up playing sports really got. And that's something I'm super, super grateful to athletics for. So I totally agree with that sentiment, Jack, and very lucky. I think all three of us had parental units that helped shape us into the young men we are today. So also grateful for the parents in our lives. Absolutely. I want to highlight one point that you were talking about. a little bit on this concept of manifesting things, right? You mentioned this goal of getting back on the ice, and you said in your head, it looked a little bit different. But you said, I will be back on the ice. You achieved that goal that you put out into the universe. And I think I'm still trying to figure it out. I've been reading a fair amount of books on this concept of like manifestation and affirmations and all this mindset stuff, because I think to most people it sounds a little bit like, you're a hippie, what are you talking about? But I do think that there is some tie between you putting something out into the universe, speaking it or writing it to be true to other people, and your brain then absorbing that and convincing that it is possible. And so I think in that moment, Jack, when you said to your neurologist, right, your neurosurgeon, hey, I'm going to be back on the ice in 3 weeks. You didn't say, I'm going to be checking dudes into the boards. You said, I am going to be back on the ice in 3 weeks. And to your point, and to that amazing story I'm so glad you shared with us is, dude, your ass was on the ice 3 weeks later. You did exactly what you said to the universe you were going to do. And I think the more we speak and think and write positively about our goals into the universe, as stupid as it sounds, as many people will probably make fun of you, like, if it works and it comes true, then who cares? Keep putting
100%.
positive affirmations in the world.
100%. I completely agree with that. And I think it comes down to a couple things in that regard. And I definitely need to look into the books and research on it a little more too before I just say, oh, this is a fact, this is why. But in my mind, it's just affirming that belief in yourself. There are way too many people walking around nowadays that see something crazy and they're from someone else and they just immediately think, I can't do that. I wish I could do that. I wish I could work out that way or play hockey that way or have the body they have. And
the body of Brad Kraut.
Yeah.
I know. We all want it.
Everyone wants it. That one might not be attainable for any other human being.
I don't know if I want the body of Brad Kraut, to be honest with you. Like, I'll pass on that one. But
but it's true. It's people don't think they see someone doing something else and they just immediately think, I can't do that. I wish I could. Whereas a person who just sits down and says, I can do this, I will do this, keeps that train rolling, keeps that mental game going. And I think it's 100% mental. I think everything you do is 100% mental. It starts in the mind for sure.
Sam, we haven't talked about this in a while, but you know what I used to always say, and I still say it to you too. We do hard things, you go do hard things. What's the worst that's going to happen, right? It's a win-win situation, right? And you know how it is a win-win if we're thinking so binary, right? You go out and you try to accomplish a goal, and you do it. Great. That's a win. Check it off, and then you just elevate, and you not time for the next goal. But you know what's even better is when you fail. And you fail at going after what you want. And I don't think failure is a loss. Failure is a win because it teaches us about how to eventually get to where you want to go. And without failure, you can't get a win. You can't get success. If we always got success, what is success? And so I'm the same way, Jack. I think of the exact same way as you. Bring the positivity, bring the energy, and believe in yourself. Because it's really easy to fall into that trap of, ugh, I can't do that, or I don't want to do that, or I can't do that. What if you just say, what if? I'm going to go try it. Put your one step forward.
Completely agree with that. Fully. I say it all the time, can't lose if you don't quit. And I fully have that mindset of if you fail, it's not a failure, it's not a loss, it's just learning. If you carry that with you and you just take what is there to learn from that encounter, it's not a failure. You just keep moving forward and figure out another way to either fail better or actually learn how to do the damn thing. And
It's
there's
like
not much more. It's pretty damn simple. It's pretty simple when you break it down.
It's funny, you can't lose if you don't give up, right? Like I've been telling to my fam, like my mom, for example, about like my cryptocurrency, passion. And, the hype was gone and I still believe in it. And they're like, you're losing money. I'm like, who said I sold? Like I didn't lose anything, right? I'm still in the game for the long run.
This with like a legal claim of this
What's
is
the
not
legal claim?
financial
I'm not
advice.
giving any advice here. I'm not giving any
I'm
advice.
putting the caveat on there. I don't need us getting sued, bro.
Sued by who? The Bitcoin police? Like,
you'd be shocked.
Someone's going in and investing right now after that. And these guys told me to do it.
This is a litigious society we live in, Parker.
I did not tell you to invest in any crypto, whatever. But what I did tell you is that if you believe in something, stick with it for a long time, and you'll be shocked.
I'm surprised you gave that example.
It's just funny because
Parker, the example I was going to give is one that I think is way more relevant for us, which is, Jack, there's this crazy stat in podcasting that I believe something like 1 or 2% of all podcasts make it past like 5 episodes. So Parker and I, when we were first starting, we heard that stat. We were like, all right, how hard could it be?
That's
5
so
episodes.
easy. Like, come on.
5 episodes.
5 episodes?
We're like, we could suck 5 episodes straight. And we did suck 5 episodes straight. But we were like, all right, if we never stop, if we keep on going, how many podcasts have 300 episodes, which we're almost up to? How many are going to have 500 episodes? How many podcasts out there have 1,000 episodes? I would say at that point, we have to be in the top 500 podcasts.
Probably.
We have to be. There's no way anyone's cranking out that much content. And if we're in the top 500 of anything, I will say that is another success and another goal reached. Stay in the game. Don't quit.
100%. 100%. People, I think the problem on that one, and I can only speak from personal experience and what I've seen on this as well, is that people don't understand that the most sought after things and the greatest satisfaction rewards are not going to be instant gratification. You are never going to pick up something new and immediately be good at it. Anything you've ever done in your life, can you think back on and be like, I was insane at this right off the bat? No. It took me 15, 16, 17 years to become an NCAA hockey player. If I were to have tried out for this when I was 10, they would have been like, dude, get the heck off the ice. What are you doing right now? And people need to understand that more. It's that you have to put in work and you have to be able to sit there and take the fact that it's not going to work out for you right off the bat. It isn't.
Be consistent with it. Just keep 100%. Doing it. And I think one thing that's interesting in our society that we live in is, everybody looks at TikTok and Instagram and they see the good-looking, jacked athlete, supermodel, whatever, and they see that success in a moment. Then they maybe see a couple more of their videos from the past month or two, and they go, wow, that person, they got a gift. They got something. They're better looking than me. They have a better camera than me. They have a better life than I do. I'm going to open up the floor. Not that Parker and I are necessarily like model influencers, but Jack, I'm going to throw you in that category, man. Scroll back. Scroll back about 150 videos and pictures on Jack Smiley's Instagram and go to high school Jack, or maybe that 10-year-old Jack that's posting content. Kid didn't always used to have sick content like he does now. I know he didn't have this same amazing Sony camera that he had. I know he wasn't getting invited on podcasts 10 years ago. There is no such thing as overnight success. There's just not. And even I will challenge people. What about someone that wins the lottery? You know how many times that dude probably bought a lottery ticket and failed?
Oh, yeah.
There is no such thing as this instant success. And so I challenge all those people out there, to Jack's point, who are striving for this instant gratification. You can only get that in 2 places. TikTok feeds, when you scroll and you get a dopamine hit, and drugs. So pick whichever one you prefer.
I disagree.
Go ahead. Challenge me.
You want a quick dopamine hit? Roll over to McDonald's, Chipotle, food, bro. Food. Quick dopamine hit.
guess.
I mean, come on. Let's be real. Maybe not as crazy as drugs or even TikTok with does your brain. It's crazy. But there's so many ways. People avoid hard things because it's ingrained in our head. Our brain tells us, don't do it. It's a bad place. You don't want to be there. Fight or flight instinct. You know what? I'm a flight. Go to the comfort zone. And we live in 21st century in the comfort zone because you know what? All of our bare minimum needs are met, right? Think about humans. Go back thousands and thousands of years. They were just trying to survive. Now we don't wake up every day trying to not get eaten by an animal or try to find some food. Our new problems, our new fears come from the everyday life, and we have tools that can fix that. And that is sometimes a problem. As great as all those things are, all the security that brings, it is de-elevating people on a day-to-day basis. It's a good word, right? De-elevating. It's the mental fortitude, knowing who you are, what you want, and what fuels you that gets you over the hump, that allows you to get outside your comfort zone to conquer those goals and elevate.
I do 100% agree with that. And it's something I've experienced as well. I wake up every single day not wanting to do anything because for me now, walking down the street is a conscious activity. I can't even walk 10 steps without fully dialing in on it. I need to be thinking about how my glutes activate, how my hamstring is supposed to pull the ground, how my ankle is supposed to connect with the concrete, how my toes are supposed to push off. And it's mentally draining. It is an all day, 24/7, every waking moment activity of just thinking about how my body should move, because that's at the end of the day what's going to get me where I want to go. I can just pull myself around and just waddle here and there if I want to without thought, but without that conscious effort going into everything, it's not going to bring me forward. And so with all of that going on and how tired and mentally fatigued it makes me, there is definitely a massive part of me that's just like, I don't get that when I lay in bed and watch TV. I could sit there and teleport right into the show and lose track of time and just not do anything besides binge watch Netflix. But is that going to get me to where I want to go? Is that going to achieve the goals that I set for myself? Is that going to get me back on the ice? No. Am I going to be comfortable for however long I'm sitting there? Yeah. But am I going to be happy? No, not a chance. So it really is about making that conscious decision. It's a choice. I think everything in life, no matter if it's rolling yourself out of bed or hitting snooze and laying in bed for another hour, going back to sleep, everything is a choice. And you can choose to do the hard thing that'll end up making you happy in the long run and maybe lead to something not just for yourself, but inspiring others. Or you can sit there and just be comfortable getting by.
Eating McDonald's.
Exactly.
But I want to add a point to that. Because, Jack, I think you're right. I think everything is a choice. I think we wake up every day and have choices to stay in our comfort zone or not. But what I do want to say, for some people, probably the majority of people, that's their life and they're okay with it. And I think this is a little difference that I've learned over the years, Jack, of us doing Elevation Nation. When Parker and I first started this thing, we were like, we want to convince everyone in the world to have this go-getter mindset, to elevate their lives, to get the most out of it, to grind, to hustle. And then we realized that's just not realistic or shouldn't be our goal. I want to work with, I want to meet, and I want to inspire those people who do want to elevate, who do care, who do think things are their choice and want to be the best versions of themselves. And for the people that don't, That's okay. Not everyone, I think, has this elevator mentality that you have, that Parker has, that I have. And so while I think all three of our missions are to inspire the next generation of people, this generation of people to be elevators, I also understand that it's not for everyone.
I completely agree with that as well. I'm agreeing with everything you guys are saying. I feel like I've said that a million times. I got to stop saying
We're on
that.
the same page,
But
man. That's good.
yeah, I mean, I also have that just I want to help as many people as I can. That's why I got into posting on social media. That's what drives me, and sounds like we're on the same page with that. We want to just affect as many people as we can in a positive way. And for me, that definitely also started out as I want to change millions of lives. I want to just do all of it and have everyone be like this. But at the end of the day, if you're happy with that lifestyle, that is completely fine. I think everyone should just strive to be happy. If you are happy doing the 9 to 5, going home and watching 4 hours of Netflix and getting up and doing it all over again, there's nothing wrong with that at all if you are happy. But for someone who doesn't have that mindset, who is stuck in that routine and doesn't think they can get out of it because that's just what everyone else does, those are the people that need to hear this message. And I think you guys are doing it perfectly, but you're not stuck in that. That's the person that has the choice of, okay, what do I need to do? I can't see the whole path right now. I don't know where this is going to lead me, but I know I need to take a different step in a different direction. And you usually, I think, deep down, if you do a little bit of soul searching, you can always find that first step. And you just need to take it.
Well said.
Bingo.
Well said. So I have one last question before we move to our next section. Sam knows this. He learned a little bit about this about me over the summer. And I believe in the power of the prop, a non-human thing that can inspire humans and inspire you to do certain things. You know, I think of a prop as a symbol or a metaphor to help you overcome or whatever it wants to be. For example, on my desk, I have this dice, right? And this could be a metaphor for anything, right? But I have it on my desk because to me, it's a metaphor for trying, rolling the dice, you know, as cliche as it is. Roll the dice, see what happens. Just try, just throw it out there, right? Go do it and see what the result comes. And if it lands on a 1, great, we have a 1. Let's deal with it. We have a 4, there it is. Okay, let's deal with it. So Jack, as you've gone through your journey in the last 2.5 years, has there been a prop in your life that has inspired you?
Honestly, not really. Not that kind of comes to mind off the bat. Maybe there is, and it's just spacing on me right now. But I am a full believer in just finding whatever works for you. I like that a lot, but what typically works best for me is just putting my head down. You can control what you can control right now in this very moment in time. The future will be dictated by what you do in this moment, but you can't control what happens or see the future. In the past, there's no use living in the past unless you want to waste the rest of your life that you do have. You got to take the lessons from the past that you can to better yourself for the future. But I'm a big put my head down and just focus on that next step.
Hell yeah.
So,
But I do
Jack,
agree with if you're a item person and there's something that really sticks with you, that you're doing work at your desk every single day and you look down and that gives you a little bit more motivation to keep pushing forward, that's perfect. If it's wearing a certain shirt when you have big moments that does it for you, do that. Like, I'm a big find something that works for you, and the rest will work itself out.
I'm also not a big prop guy, but I have to give credit to the prop guy when it's due. So I'm going to tell a quick story about Parker and his props. So
Parker and the props. Sam
Parker
knows
and the
that.
props.
What were we talking about earlier?
Parker's point. You got Parker in the park, Parker's points, Parker's props. Parker's got a lot of things going on in his life, man. But this one in particular was Parker's props. So Parker, one of our other best friends, Miles, we took a boys trip. We rented a cabin in the woods. Parker shows up like giddy. He's like freaking out. He's like, dude, I cannot wait for you to see what I brought, man. And I was like, what did this kid bring? He opens his suitcase, and there's like a giant white box. And he's like, dude, open the box. I'm like, what is going on right now, bro? I open the box. There's like 180 crayons, colored pencils, a bunch of paper, like fidget spinners, markers, Play-Doh, like a bajillion tubs of Play-Doh. Parker, I think, bought like a first grade teacher starter set or something off Amazon. Like, look at this shit. He had all of these random ass things, and he's like, never underestimate the value of the prop. And he just kept saying that all weekend. And he was right. The props were great. We just messed around and felt like little kids. It was great. So, big prop guy over here.
I do agree with that. I think props add a lot of value. And I will say there was one thing that held a lot of value for me throughout, and it was my cane. I guess I put a lot of just meaning into that cane, and it was because at the beginning, you never know with a stroke. The doctors can't tell you how much you'll end up getting back. They don't know when you'll get stuff back. It's completely unknown because every stroke is different based on how complex the brain is, where the stroke is, how old you are, what kind of life you led leading up to it. There's just so much that goes into it. And that's what they told me at the very beginning was, we have no idea. You could be in a wheelchair the rest of your life. You'll make progress, but we don't know if it's 10%, 90%, 5%, 50%. So at one point, I had a cane, and that was the longest phase. I was in the wheelchair for about a month. I had a cane for, I think, 2 or 3, maybe even 4 months. And that I still have it. I brought it up here for when we have media day on the ice. When we get our on ice pictures taken, I'm taking a slap shot with it, posting that on Instagram. Because that was definitely, and my parents came up to me and were like, hey, you want to get a baller cane? You want to get some mahogany wood with something crazy on it? And I definitely, in my mind, I was like, that would be kind of sick. I do kind of want it. But then I would always end up saying, no, this ugly piece of metal is a driving force into ditching it. If I have a mahogany cane, I'm going to be walking around.
Jack's like, I kind of like this cane, man. This is swaggy.
Yeah, this thing's kind of sick. I might keep this for the rest of my life. But having the metal one, it was ugly. It was just, I didn't want people looking at me with it. I didn't feel like my athletic self. I didn't feel like that baller with it. And I was just like, that's driving me. I want to get rid of this thing as fast as possible. So I definitely put some meaning into that thing, and
that's
probably will
prop.
frame it.
Power of the
Jack,
prop, baby.
Power of the prop.
I'll give it to you. I will give it to you on that one.
I want to move us into our next section, but I hinted at something at the start of the podcast that I want to give you the opportunity to close out. So when we first met, we were talking about how your goals had shifted a little bit. And we just mentioned how you achieved one of those goals, which was getting back on the ice in those 3 weeks. But I know there is another goal that you have in mind that you are pushing relentlessly towards. And I think this just goes to show, 1, your personality, 2, why I like you so much. Can you tell Elevation Nation the exact way that you would like to truly return to the ice for your college hockey career?
Yeah. So I'm still working with a little bit of a deficit on my right side. Everything's pretty difficult still, but I want to get myself back to the point where I can put someone through the glass and then maybe get kicked out for it in some fashion or another. I think that'd be a pretty cool way to retire number 10.
Sounds like a true hockey player, if you ask me.
Just absolutely take someone's head off and then get booted from the game. Give a little wave to the crowd, whoever's there, and see you number 10.
I can't wait. I will
love
be
it.
in attendance for that game. I'm going to send this podcast clip to every single opposing player, and I'm going to say, you guys are fucked.
Keep your head up.
For number 10.
Heads on a swivel.
Number 10's coming. I love it.
As long as the penalty doesn't screw my team in any way.
It's very selfless of you, but I think they'd understand in this case. I think you can get as many penalties as you want, bro.
I think if that actually came true, when it comes true,
there you go.
I would go out as the highest per game average penalty minutes in probably college history.
It's perfect. Add to the legacy, man. Why not? Throw that stat.
Should be pretty
in your cap.
sick stat. I definitely haven't done any research on that, so if whoever has that stat and is proud of it sees this by chance, I'm sorry.
Jack's coming
I didn't
for
know.
it. That's all.
I am coming for it though.
I love it. All right, Jack, I want to move us into our next segment here. It's the rapid fire segment. We have a couple questions, real quick, quick hitting answers. We didn't prep you on these. Here we go. Who is your favorite hockey player?
Favorite hockey player? Oof. I would have to say Alex Ovechkin. I love watching him play growing up.
Perfect. We'll see you in D.C. for some Caps games.
Hey, prop. Just
There you go, OB.
Just
It's
Ovechkin.
sick. That's
Just
so funny.
saying. That was perfect. That was meant
That's
to be right
so
there.
funny.
That was meant
I
to be.
definitely aspire to play a little more defense than him, but I did love watching him absolutely rip the puck.
Hey,
I don't
it's
even
not
know
pa-
if he'd
it's
be
not
mad at me saying that because he's got to know it at this point.
What, the defense? The lack
Yeah.
of defense? Maybe. Hey, I guess you don't score that many goals in your career if you're always considering and focusing on defense, right? Like,
True.
got to be offensive mind, right?
That is a cool prop, though.
All right, Jack. I'm thinking I like music. I listen to a lot of music. What is that one song that just gets you going?
Oh. I'm going to give you two here, actually, because the other day, our media team asked us that question after practice. You know how they go around with the microphone and are just like asking questions for Instagram? They were like, oh, what's your favorite hype song before a game, pregame song? I went with Love Story by Taylor Swift. Great in every setting. But if I was really trying to get hype, I think Run This Town by Jay-Z, and it's either Rihanna or Beyonce. I forget who's on the track with him,
I think
but
it's Rihanna.
that song gets me every time.
That's a solid one. It's a good. Both of those are good
Yeah.
songs. Absolute bangers. All right, I have one. You mentioned you're not doing this much anymore, which is sitting and just lounging on the couch watching TV. But there was a point where you were probably a little bored in between PT sessions. What was the show that you were watching or the movies or the series that you were like, all right, I guess I'm just going to binge this. Like, I'm just chilling right now.
That's a great question. It definitely did happen a couple times. And during my hip surgery phase, actually, a quick stat, just sidetrack, I watched every single thing on Netflix possible because my therapy was laying in bed. Like, I couldn't get up. It was just, they had a machine rotating my leg in bed. So that's just a quick stat that I've watched everything on Netflix. Hold on, let me get the lights. These lights.
Damn lights.
It's now legit dark in there. Like, it was kind of dark before, then it got really dark.
Yeah, we could see
Yeah,
outside.
these lights
I feel
got
a little
it.
bit.
These lights got to figure.
You got a
out.
green
I don't
building
know how
there,
to work them. I
Endicott.
just don't know how to work them. But favorite show, I tried to get into the first spinoff of Yellowstone, because I really loved. That's my favorite show of all time. Yellowstone is just quality. And tried to get into the spinoff because I watched all of that, but it didn't end up working out. And then kind of just got into video editing. That's how I spent the rest of my time in the hospital. It was just making the TikToks, and then it led to Instagram. But yeah, tried to get into a show, didn't end up working.
Okay. All right. I mean,
Making his own videos. There you go.
yeah, making your own entertainment.
Yeah,
right there.
and now that's the reason I'm here, and that's the reason we're probably talking at this moment. So,
All right, last
Crazy.
rapid fire, Jack. We do ask every single elevator. You got a book recommendation for Elevation Nation?
yeah, actually, I'm in the middle of Chop Wood, Carry Water, I think is the name of it. And I really like it so far. It's just got a lot of, and it's a very easy read. It's not in depth or anything. It's just got a lot of little really good life lessons. Like, you could give it to a 10th grader or younger 10-year-old and have them read. It's just filled with a lot of really cool quotes, and right off the bat, it has one at the beginning that I loved, and probably the reason I said it because it's my favorite quote ever. But it just says, "Success isn't for the chosen few; it's for the few who choose." And that's the epitome of everything we've talked about today. You want something, choose to work for it.
So that may have brought us perfectly into our last segment. I'm not sure, but you're almost through your initiation, your pledge process, your tryout for Elevation Nation. And every single member of Elevation Nation, every elevator, has what we call your mental motto. And that's a phrase you live your life by. It's what Parker and I go and we teach to countless high school, college, and recent graduates around the country. And so you may have just said it, but Jack, can you say it one more time for Elevation Nation, elevator number 145? What is your mental motto?
Well, my motto is actually a little different.
Okay,
my motto
perfect.
is kind of my own little spin. I think I probably has been said other places, and I picked it up along the way, but I use it all the time in all of the stuff I do on Instagram and just walking around talking, and it's a great day to have a day. That's the epitome of who I am. It doesn't matter if it's raining, snowy, if you got a ton of weight on your shoulders from work or school or sports. If things aren't going your way, it's always a great day to have a day. And it's up to you to make it that way, because if you're getting fresh air in your lungs and you're walking around, or not even that, if you're legitimately getting fresh air in your lungs, you have a lot to be grateful for, and you have opportunity. You have opportunity to progress in whatever you want to progress in. So my motto is, it's a great day to have a day.
It's beautiful. I love it. It's a great mental motto.
Put it on a shirt, maybe a sweatshirt, maybe a hat, maybe a dice. You know, you can put it anywhere. It's for people to put on.
Maybe on
any
Ovi.
prop you got.
Yeah, props.
Plaster
Big
it
props.
everywhere.
Look at this one. This one's cool. You know,
heck
keeps
is
me
that?
going. It's so funny. There's so
How
many.
I have one question for you. How many props you got on your desk right now?
Right now, whew, let's
Yeah.
see. I got here. We'll go through them real quick. We got Ovechkin. These are different props, though. You know, Lamar, obviously, legend, goat. We got my family.
I
This
think we
is
might need a
this is
video of
very
this.
important, very important prop. Got some high school stuff on
That is
here,
a
and
good
a
one.
little award I won. The dice. I don't know. We got my grandpa's pen, who's not around anymore, but I have his pen, which is really cool. I'm not
That's a
going to say
good
the
one.
stapler is a prop. That's just not a thing. And yeah, I think I just moved, Jack, so I got to now accumulate more props.
So you don't have enough props right now. You want more.
You can never have enough things to inspire you. You can never have enough things to play with. You can never have enough things to keep you busy, right?
Yeah.
So, but there are some props that are definitely more meaningful than others.
That's right. You do have some very good, meaningful ones in there. I like that.
Yeah, I mean Lamar Jackson. That is like the ultimate prop right there. Like the mini.
I was thinking you were gonna say the family picture, or the grandfather's pen.
Obviously, no. GOAT.
Parker's loyal.
Sorry,
Ravens.
very loyal.
Jack, this has been an absolute pleasure, man. I knew when we first got introduced, shout out to Juwan for introducing us, another elevator, that we were going to hit it off. And I'm so inspired by you, by your mindset, by your mental fortitude, by your story, and by what you're going to accomplish in the future. And I'm honored to welcome you officially to Elevation Nation as elevator number 145. We cannot wait to support and elevate you on this journey in life. I have like 1,000 people Parker and I want to introduce you to, but we just want to thank you, man, and welcome you to our amazing community.
I want to thank you guys. Thank you for having me on. As I said before, just honored to be asked and pumped that I made the cut. And in this little initiation went well on all sides, and that I passed the test.
You certainly did. Elevation Nation. Until next week. Peace.